there, Diane Scabaloni here, and welcome to another episode of my show, People I Know, Like, and Trust. And I am blessed and excited to have with me today Aldrea Reese Brown. She and I met several years ago through networking and just, community stuff. And she is fabulous. And I want her to talk with us today about her program called Money Mix. Now, Aldrea has a huge background of, first of all, just surviving being the youngest of a family of 5 sisters. And she has 6 children, beautiful, pretty much grown children of her own.
Yeah.
And she is also the executive director of a Christian bookstore called The Shepherd's Door, where she's just going to be bringing in communities and connections like all over the area.
Yeah.
And so I just welcome you, Aldrea. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Diane. This is so exciting.
Yay. So cool. We've been, because of, me being a mortgage person and dealing with people and their money, on a daily basis, and knowing how critical it is to our lives. Like, we deal with money every single day. And, it's almost one of those taboos that for some reason we think we can't talk about. So and that's why I'm like so excited with what you're doing with your program called Money Mix, and how you're kind of like helping people release their money blocks, helping them to, work together and, work in a group to just accomplish their goals. So tell us, like, what is Money Mix and what is it that you're doing?
Great. I love that you said get people together in a group to get rid of their money blocks. I love that, because a lot of times you start talking about money and people just automatically think, oh, debt, dealing with debt. Honestly, my husband and I do not have a gigantic load of debt. What we had is a big family, and we didn't have a lot of tools for increasing our wealth. I mean, in the sense of taking advantage of things and thinking out of the box, and then doing things on the side instead of just the traditional job, taking that wage and then, just trying to divide it out. We didn't think of a lot of out of the box, side hustles. That's what they call them today, side hustle kind of thinking.
Right.
And so Money Mix is a group to help people come together in community using that positive peer pressure to build towards your own personal financial goals. So if your goal is, I want to save money for the next house that I buy, I want my down payment to be 20% instead of 10%, you're in the right place. If you want to start a family and you haven't had any children yet, there's an actual number for how much it costs to have a kid, and you want to save to that and you want to actually put that aside, you really can do it. If you're just, say you're downsizing and you're trying to make new decisions because, maybe your family is mostly grown and moved out and you're trying to figure out how to rethink how you even just purchase food. Like, no, you don't need to cook for 3,000 people anymore. How do you do that different? Menu work can help with that. So I really want to take money out of this idea of only experts can touch it to everyday, practical, conversational support.
That is so good, because like I said, with dealing with people in the mortgage, as my mortgage clients, it blows my mind how some people that, they may have a very small amount of income, but they come to the loan application with 20% down.
Awesome.
Where maybe compared to other people that have a plethora of income, and they're like scrambling and asking for gift money from their family. So it's just, different perspectives. And I feel like we learn from our family on how to manage money. I know for me, my parents were very, I remember as a small child sitting in beneficial commercial credit or consumer credit finance or something. I used to hang out in their waiting room because my
Mm,
parents just kept like recycling their debt, refinancing. It just, they never seemed to like have enough. And
right.
so, of course, for me, like then as I became a mature adult, I'm like always feeling like I don't have enough. And then just like worrying about debt and everything. And so
Yeah.
you don't know that that like is churning in the back of your head. And so to
Mm-mm.
have conversations about that kind of stuff, that really a financial planner
Yeah.
or a CPA, not to diss, everybody has their wonderful function,
Yeah.
but this might just be something that you can share with other families, other
Yeah.
people that they can relate. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like you get to show up like raw and truly yourself
Yes.
in a very safe space and
Yes.
say, you know what, I'm going to stand firm and not be afraid to reveal the fact that I have X
Yeah.
dollars of credit card debt,
Yeah.
but it's bringing me shame,
Right.
but I want to change it. What do I do? And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to commercial credit. I don't want to
Right.
go to some of the credit counseling places because
Right.
it doesn't feel right. Like you're
Yeah.
opening up another door for
Thank
a
you.
different opportunity. So
Yeah, I thank you. That's so beautiful. It's a changing of behavior in a supportive environment because we all know it's so hard to change behavior by yourself. Like it's not impossible, it's just that much harder.
right.
And there's something so beautiful about a group that is like-minded.
Mm,
But even if you're not working on the same goal, you're like-minded in the sense that you want to change your behavior about money, whatever it is, whatever that behavior is, you're wanting to change it about money. And it's a safe place to talk about it. It's a safe place to talk about the struggles. It's a safe place to, and I don't want to make it sound like counseling necessarily, but it's a safe place to even have good counsel.
right.
I've heard the people talk about, well, how they make money back using coupons. I've heard people talk about how I have one friend never buys a used car. She always, well, not always, because she's only had two in our lifetime that I can think of. She buys a new car, but she absolutely takes care of it. She does everything the manual says. She has no debt over that car. That's how she likes to do it. She doesn't want to have any thing in the background, something went wrong, you got to go get it fixed, what you do with a used car. So like for the Dave Ramsey thing of, don't ever buy a used car, a new car, that's true for most people because most of us will buy first and think of the long-term impact later. And instead, this woman, my friend, she thought of the long-term impact when she bought new. So that doesn't apply to her. And I really want to have that kind of conversation where you're saying, oh, well, what do you do with your car purchase? What do you do? Okay, well, what works best? What doesn't work? What have we seen across the board doesn't work? Okay, let's not do that. So many conversations to be had around money that we just don't have. And like we were talking earlier about how, particularly with women, I just think it's not a conversation that we go to easily. Like I have at least 5 people who I'm great friends with. I could not tell you what they made as an income.
Mhm.
I can tell you if their house is nice, but I can't tell you what kind of money they make. We just
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
don't do it. We don't ask it. It doesn't come up.
Yeah. It is like, it's almost like a taboo conversation, but
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I think that there's sometimes like this mindset that there is the right way to do it. And so
Right.
if you're not doing it the right way,
Right.
then something's wrong. But see, there
Right.
really isn't a right way.
Right.
Everybody has their journey.
Yep.
And just like I love the car example is so good. And I love that what you're creating is a like a multi-generational group of people. So you could
Yeah.
have like a young woman in the group and an older woman or an older man in the group, and they
Yes.
can kind of mentor each other and say, well, honey, here's what happened with me, or
Yes.
and just help to eliminate like fears of
Yeah.
wanting to do it right you
Yeah.
know so that's
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's funny because my father-in-law, I've known my husband since I was 16. And
Oh.
so, I'll never forget. And he raised 5 kids. He's a
Yeah.
roofer. and
Mm.
it was single income for the household. And
Mhm.
somehow we were sitting around talking about my fashion bug. I don't even think fashion bug exists anymore, but it was basically like a little like a clothing store.
Mhm.
Fashion bug credit card that had a few hundred, a couple $100 on it.
Yeah.
And he was like, do you realize how much, I'm like, oh, it's only $10 a month. And so he goes, do you realize how much you're paying in interest on
Right.
$200? And I
Right.
never knew. Like, no one had that
Mm-mm.
conversation with me. And I
Right.
wish
Mhm.
we would have these conversations in school so that if you looked at the back of the credit card and you're like, oh, the interest is 29%.
Oh my God.
And you're like, holy crap. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think it's but these are like the basic conversations that you're having, and I love what you're doing with that.
Thank you.
So good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how do people find out? Like, if people are interested in this, like, how do they find out about your next class, how to
Yeah.
get involved? Even if
Mhm.
someone has a heart for helping people with money, can they
Yeah.
be involved too? Like, tell us about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So right now, basically, you would send to my email address. I have like a front page website, but it's really not developed enough that I would send anybody to it. So my email, I would definitely make available to you. We can put it in the link for this recording.
Perfect.
And I am literally having to be like, not double-minded in a negative sense, but in my head, I'm talking to people and it's like, well, great, you could be, you could participate and learn some things from this program. And then other conversations like, the friend with the car, great, you can participate and be one of the coaches in this program. Because what I also want to do is get those conversations to be led in such a way that it is a supportive environment, that it's not a loose cannon conversation. There's no shaming going on. There's nobody, talking anybody else down, or making them feel like they're wrong about their journey. It's just the matter of the conversation happening and having a group of people who are like-minded in a sense that they want to change their behavior about money. And so say there is someone who's never really struggled about money, but they watch people in their lives. And I was thinking about this earlier today. Our neighborhoods have changed. So where maybe, 50 years ago or more, you lived in the same community with your family. The uncle that had a really good job, maybe he helped someone else in the family get a good job like that. Or maybe the one that's got like great credit might be able to sit around the table and talk to the other relatives about how they got that good credit. But we're not down the street from our cousins and our uncles and our grandparents anymore. We're not sitting at the table with them for enough time for the conversation like you had with your father-in-law to come up. And so these groups, they're not supposed to substitute for family, but those kinds of family conversations can still be had. It's just now we've got to create a way to have them. And so there are definitely people who all of us know who are awesome with money, who maybe don't even have a college education. Maybe they just graduated high school, went straight into the workplace, got that goal in mind, bought their house, had their family, raised their children, taught their kids, and they're looking around at their neighborhood and people around them thinking, well, if you just knew this, it would help you. But that's not really a conversational topic that you could kind of knock on your neighbor's door and say, I noticed that you just don't have order in anything, how about I help you? You can't
Right,
really do that. You
right.
can't really do that, but those people have things to share and they have great wisdom. And just like the idea of budgeting, it's not a new idea. It's literally like dieting. We all know that salad is better than french fries, right? I mean, we know it, but you want to eat the french fries more often. So maybe you eat french fries once a week, you eat salad the other 4 days, whatever. But if there's something about money that's the same way. We know what budgeting is. Even if we don't use a budget, we know what it means. We know that it's a plan, but the sticking to the plan is what gets tricky. Whatever the plan is, that's the part that's hard, is sticking to the plan. And so I read a little snippet. I think the book was called Atomic Habits. And I remember the author talking about how we learn so much culturally And he was using it in a positive sense, not the negative, because we learn negatives from that too. But he said, notice how you get into an elevator, you walk in, and you always turn around. Like nobody walks into the elevator and just stands facing the wall. You get that from the cultural context of everybody gets in the elevator and turns around. That's what you do. And so there's he also recommended joining a group that had similar attitudes as you do as you're aiming for a goal, because having that group in mind helps you stay focused on your goal. So just like walking into that elevator, coming into a room full of people that are all like, you know what? I want to get better at this. I want to do better at this. I want my next generation to have a mastery level handle on money instead of
Mhm.
being behind the ball. I don't want to leave my children with debt. I want them not to leave their children with that. And then beyond that, I want them to have an inheritance. But I want them not only to have the inheritance, which is really, that's kind of a good segue. A lot of people look at financial stuff about, as in related to debt, right? But one of the statistics that I thought was amazing was that people with great wealth, when they pass it off to the next generation, they lose 80% of that income.
Is that right? Oh
80%.
my
And then
gosh.
third generation loses 90%.
Wow.
And that's like staggering.
That
That's
is.
staggering. So a lot of us don't need information about debt. We need information about how to manage money. And it's also the reason why when people win the lotto, oh yeah, that's going to solve all my problems. I'm going to be able to, quit that job that sucks, da, 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 and I'll do all this other stuff. And then they end up without that money, not
Mhm.
even 5 years later, because there's no money management skills.
Right. Right. That's so good. So this is really about, I mean, so it's similar to a lot of the other programs out there, like,
Yeah.
Weight Watchers or
Yeah.
AA,
Yeah.
or, there's these kind of, that adds that additional component of
Hmm.
accountability,
That's it.
support,
Yeah.
and understanding, and like, hey, I'm not the only one going through this. And you can,
Absolutely.
listen with an open heart and
Yeah.
some really good ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming that, obviously this has huge confidentiality labeled all
Absolutely.
over it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. It's tighter than Vegas. What happens in the group stays in the group.
Right, right. So that people
Yes.
feel comfortable, so that if there is someone that maybe there's
Yes.
someone that, shows up like super wealthy, but they just want to, share their wisdom, they
Right.
might want to be like, okay, well, I don't want to be taken advantage of.
No, exactly.
Or, someone that's like getting ready to go through bankruptcy doesn't
Right.
really want the world to know. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yes. That's even something as a group that is contractual, that we're signing, okay, we're not going to share details about anything that we hear in this setting. We're not going to the no names will be shared, any of that, because even just the fact of being anonymous in the group, you don't want everybody to know that you're there. There might be even situations where maybe there's a couple where this sounds rough, but it's real. What if there's a woman preparing to leave her husband and she's trying to get that financial stuff straight, and maybe she doesn't want that to be public? Maybe she hasn't even told him yet that she's trying to get that under her feet. You
Yes.
know,
Yes, I deal with that. I deal with that
yeah,
sometimes. You're
sure.
absolutely right. And those people are a lot of times feel very vulnerable. So for them
Yeah,
to have a place to go that they can, feel, have that confidence and
right.
feel guided. And I
Yeah,
mean, let's face it, 50% of, divorce rate. So there might be someone right in that group that can, share with them people, support, connections. And see, that's the other thing too, is it's going to help people to, what is, I'm looking lack of the word, but
mhm,
like you're looking for a good financial planner, or you're looking for a
right.
good CPA, or you're looking
Yes,
for, a good banker or something. This
yes,
way you have someone already that you know and trust that can share
yes,
who they like, that is, similarly connected. So
absolutely.
that makes
And
it
multiple people rather than just one. you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I know that, so tell us like a little bit about the structure. Like, do you meet in person? Do you meet online? How many meetings? What is the, the cost? Give us a little bit of
Okay, cool.
insight on that.
So my setup is 12 weeks, um, basically around the idea that it takes 21 days to build a good habit, but you need to also account for the 21 days to break the bad habit. So building into that, that 21 days and then 21 days, and then also the time of successfully doing that good habit so that when you leave the group, you continue on in those habits. Because
Nice.
definitely, number one thing is building those good habits. So 12-week long program. Right now, we would just be doing things, since some of the restrictions for COVID are off, we're doing things live, but I would love to have a Zoom opportunity. And so I haven't built up enough groups yet to have a Zoom group, but it's definitely in the works. A Zoom or whatever, online group. It doesn't have to be through Zoom. Um, but it still will be 12 weeks, about an hour each time, which is, it's immediate enough that you have good conversation, but short enough that you can stick to that every week. And
Yep.
then, we'll also have activities. Yeah, I won't call it homework, but activities that we actually do that will come ready to discuss everything the next week, activities that we'll do in the group together. Um, so that we're actually okay. This is the part that I hate, is having to sit down and go through my checkbook. Okay, some of that we're going to actually do in the group together instead of it being go home and do that and then come back. We're going to work on it together. So even supporting on that level. Um, and then that 12-week cycle will include at least two people. So say you are a couple and you want to sign up together, your membership would include both of you. Or you're the father and son and you want to have that son be ready for that inheritance. You can sign up
Love it.
together.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so my pricing has changed recently after coronavirus and learning some other things and going through my own awareness as a business leader. It was like, you know what, this is not a nonprofit event. So I will just leave that on contact me by email and I will let you know. It's not a changing rate, it's a fixed rate, but I would rather discuss that like one-on-one.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Oh, I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited. I'm
Thank
so excited.
thank
Yeah,
you.
that's beautiful. So, anything else that we need that you want to target? Because I will leave, we'll put at the bottom, your contact information,
Great,
how to get
great,
in touch with you, and
great,
people can reach out and
great.
yay.
Great, great. Oh, I know another thing I had on my heart. I read a book by, I think his name is Rabbi Daniel Lapin, and he talked about that community sense. He talked about if you have a relative that's always wanting to borrow money, like say you're the person that's reliable in that way, right? He said, you can decide whether or not this person is worthy to lend to. But he also said, but now you have an obligation to teach that relative. Don't
Mm.
just be the person that does the giving. Help them to grow in that area and help them to learn. So that's really a solid part of my heart in this is helping each other grow in an area that we all struggle with. It really doesn't really make sense to rely on um, people that don't know you and don't know your history when you could build relationship and have people that you like, know, and trust help you to move forward in that area.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good advice. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's like the old saying that, it- you can give someone some fish
Yes,
or you can give them a fishing pole and teach them how to fish.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just had that
Mhm.
same conversation with my son
Yeah.
yesterday. He was
Mhm.
texting me. He's like, can you put like 20 bucks in my account? You know, I like, I'm gonna go negative. And I'm like, okay, well, how was that $100 cologne that you just purchased?
Okay. Right. Right.
Like reconsidering that now. And he's like, yeah, good point. And so it was an opportunity to say, like, it's fine. Go, we're all good to treat ourselves and buy little
Yeah,
special things that we want, but like to think ahead and to
yeah.
plan ahead. So it's like,
Mhm.
he didn't learn this. He's 19. He didn't learn this in school. It's all
Right.
through experience. So I think
Yes.
having a community like you're providing where no shaming, but just educational and
Yeah.
support and
Yeah.
here's what I did and
Hmm.
lifting each other up, and
Yeah.
that's just, it's beautiful. I'm so
Thank you.
excited. I'm
And
so
it's fun. It's intentionally fun. I don't know if you can tell this, and people listening can tell this as we're talking. I'm a fun person, and I have pictures from the first class that I started out. I looked so grumpy and mean the whole time, and it was like, scratch that. That is not how we're supposed to do this. It's got to have like balloons and party, and a fun atmosphere. This is normal conversation. We're helping each other grow. There's nothing wrong in this setting.
Yeah, yeah, guys. I mean, Aldrea has a master's from Waynesburg University and so much experience, life experience, educational experience.
Yeah,
But, another piece that you don't know about her is she is incredibly creative. I mean, she's a gifted
thank you.
singer and, she's writing a play. So, like, you get the whole package when you're working with her. It's, the left brain and the right brain are going to be engaged, and
Yeah,
that's the best way that we learn. So,
I agree.
yay. All
Thank
right.
you so
Well,
much, Diane.
yay. This is so fun. So can't wait to see how things progress for you. And, so please, guys, if you're interested, please reach out to Aldrea. If you know a friend, please pass this along. No obligation. I know whenever you reach out to her, she will be as warm and as friendly as she is in this video, and
Absolutely.
welcoming and give you some ideas and go from there. So
Right.
thanks, Aldrea. All right,
Thanks,
everybody.
Diane.
Have a blessed day. Until next time.